and take 60. Those numbers keep moving up and up. I never would have thought that I would have gotten this far, but I'm really happy to see these numbers continue to rise, and who knows when I will reach that 100 mark. I honestly would not have thought at the beginning. If someone would have told me at the beginning that I would have lasted this long, I certainly would not have believed them. I'm learning now through human design and through my friendship with Girolamo, the country representative for Italy, because I'm looking into his human design, and it's telling me and it's teaching me a lot of things about my own patterns that I haven't gotten to yet. You see, human design is extremely, extremely deep, and it's extremely detailed. It's extremely complex. So there are a lot of things that I haven't gotten to yet that I still have to get to, because there are steps in understanding. There's a lot of detail. There's a lot to learn. So there's so much that even though after years and years and years I haven't gotten to yet, because it is highly emphasized that you take your time going through your profile, going through your human design chart, and better understanding yourself and better understanding the system. But it just so happens that I have learned that I have a particular quality about myself, that I am really good at starting projects, but I'm not really good at seeing them to completion. And there is a missing element, let's say, within my genetics that allows me to start a lot of good projects, but I need someone else who has the other side of the channel. There's a there's a current that flows through a particular channel that allows for the spark of a new beginning and the fire that can burn until the conclusion. And I don't have that fire, but it just so happens that Girolamo does. So it was interesting for me because I hadn't studied this yet. I had not studied this gate yet. I had not studied this aspect of myself yet. And now that I have that opportunity, it's really amazing for me to see that I have this quality about me. And it also explains why so many of the things that I start never really go forward to completion. But I'll get into that at a later time. For now, I want to continue with my deciphering DTube, the price manipulation conspiracy theory. I have thought after thought, and with the experience that I'm going through, I mean, life just gives you one obstacle after another, and those of us who are prone to trial and error, we understand that these are moments in life where we're being given a lesson to learn, an experience that will help us grow if we manage to learn the error or learn the mistake or learn what it is that we have accidentally and sometimes not so accidentally bumped into. So yesterday I had trouble uploading uploading my Tino take onto the D2 platform. So as always, I have the redundancy to be able to fall back on YouTube. Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. So with that and the continued downvoting, the continued censorship that I am continuing to experience, the lack of support that I'm continuing to experience, I don't even know if I'm even going to bother uploading more videos on the DTube. I might just be better off uploading them on YouTube because they have a more professional, stable, and reliable platform, and then maybe just share those as opposed to upload those, because you have that option on DTube. You can upload directly to the file sharing system, or you can use your DTube, you can use your YouTube channel to upload a video and then share that video on the DTube platform. I'm very tempted to lean in that direction, seeing everything that's going on until DTube starts to really get cleaned up, I am not happy with what's happening there, and I don't see good things in the future if this direction, if this behavior continues. So with that bitterness, with that sense of bitterness that I'm having, I've come up with yet another title, and I've talked about this on my Italian show, Deciphering DTube, the price manipulation conspiracy theory. You know, I like to put my opinion out there. I like to dig into things and try to get to the bottom of things, and I'll get into that a little bit later on when I talk about gene codes. But I found it interesting that there was a point in the last week or so that the price of the DTube coin just really rocketed. You know, I think it went up to 50, 60 cents at some stage, and it's still up there. It's still doing fine. I think the last I checked yesterday was somewhere around 50 cents. But there's something unusual. There's something really strange about this situation. There's something really strange about this price hike, because there's a really strong gap between the bid and the ask. For those of you who are familiar with markets, you'll know what I'm talking about. For those of you who are not, there's a point in which a coin is sold at a certain price, and there's a point in which the coin can be bought at a certain price, and usually there's a tight gap between the two. There's not much space there's not much of a difference between the high and the low. But recently I have been seeing a great distance between the high and the low, and I asked myself, are people really buying the token up at these prices, or is there some kind of price manipulation going on? Because it was short-lived, because there was a point where the token value in Bitcoin was well above 3,000 Satoshi, and it was a tight gap between the bid and the ask. And so I thought, wow, you know, it seems like things are going really good. People have decided that the purchasing of the DTube coin has a particular value up in the 50 cent range, 60 cent range, and that people selling their DTube coins are also willing to sell them at that price. And you can't blame them. I mean, that's a good price, especially a lot of people who bought them at 10 cents. But then suddenly I saw this kind of massive drop in the price of what people are offering. I thought to myself, what's going on here? Why is the price so high for those who are willing to buy, and the price is so low for those who are, no, I think I've got that backwards. The price is so high for those who are willing to sell, and the price is so low for those who are willing to buy. I think I got that backwards again. Okay, let's try this again. If you are willing to buy some DTube coins, it will cost you up into the range of 50 cents per coin. If you are trying to sell your coins, you will only get about 15 cents. So there's a discrepancy there between those two numbers. And I started to wonder to myself, well, who's actually selling their coins and who's actually buying coins? There are not a lot of content creators on DTube. Most of the content creators that are there have been there for a while now, and they already have their coins. They either gathered them through the airdrop that was given to Steemians, or they participated in the pre-sale in which the coins were available at 10 cents a piece. Now, with what I'm seeing going on, here's where the conspiracy theory comes in. With what I'm seeing going on now with these tactics of downvoting people, censoring people, there's this kind of atmosphere almost this attitude that says, hey, if you don't like it, buy more coins. Well, I'm not going to buy more coins simply because you're downvoting me and I want to sit here and try to fight you on that. I'm not going to waste my time doing that. Some of these guys got 10,000, 12,000, 25,000 tokens, which are allowing them to accumulate voting power, which no small scale content creator can compete with. And I don't have any support from the other leaders. I don't have support from other people. So in my mind, I thought to myself, well, this would be a very clever way to pressure people into buying the coin. Now, the coin is being printed. The new coins are being printed and distributed to people who are obviously creating content and getting voted upon. Coins are also being distributed to people who are running nodes. Now, I don't know if all of the node runners or just simply the top DTube leaders, but I know and I can imagine that because people are being rewarded, there's an incentivized downvoting. You will actually get rewarded if you downvote people. So these people who are downvoting, they're actually getting coins. And those are new coins that are being printed up. And you can easily take those new coins that are being printed up and send them over to the market and put whatever price you want on it. So it would seem to me that there are, in this crony capitalism that I talked about in the last take, it would seem that one has their investment protected because new coins are being created. You don't have to sell off the coins that you bought. You can just gain a profit. You can just make a profit by simply downvoting other people. You know what's interesting? These people who are downvoting because they want to control what kind of content, some of them are not even content creators. They want to determine who gets what on the platform, but they don't actually offer anything in the way of content. The only thing they can offer is a kind of policing, a self-styled, let's make the rules up as we go along kind of policing, which they get rewarded for. And that token then can be sent over to the market. You can put whatever price you want on it. Now, these people have nothing to lose. There's nothing to lose in this, other than that the platform will not become successful. But I mean, if there are selfish people out there who are simply interested in their own return on investment, then they don't care what happens to the platform so long as they can get their money back. See, that's the whole basis of return on investment. Return on investment is a kind of way of saying, listen, I don't care what happens. I don't care what kind of tactics you guys use. I don't even give a damn about your future, so long as I get my money back. Once I get my money back, then I'm okay. But until such time, I can care less about the future. I'm concerned about the present and accumulating little by little. So if somebody says, listen, I put $100 into DTube, until I get my $100 back, I'm not really going to give a damn about anything else. That's all I'm going to be concerned with. That's what's going to be my main focus. So there seems to be this kind of artificial price manipulation, which makes it very difficult for you to buy the coin, but it also makes it very difficult for you to sell the coin. For those who are genuinely deciding to sell the coin, because you see, when you have a buy and sell, you have to have a buyer and you have to have a seller. So if I want to buy at a certain price, there has to be an available person who's willing to sell at that price. And there are people who are willing to sell their coins maybe at around 15 cents, but there's not a lot of those people. And there are, on the other hand, a lot of people who are selling the coins way up there at 50, 60 cents a coin. So I'm seeing, because it's unusual to see in markets such a large gap between the ask and the bid. It's an extraordinary. Now, when I got into DTube, the coins were about 1,300 Satoshi, And that's where the bottom is right now, but the top is up around 3,000 something, and it keeps accumulating. So I keep asking myself and wondering to myself, who's putting those coins up there at that price? What an unfortunate situation. Really is an unfortunate situation. You know, sometimes it's not really all that great being an early adopter when you are entering into a vulture style environment, because if you're a small content creator, you will get eaten, you will get pushed to the periphery, and it's not a pleasant experience. And it's unfortunate because there was so much hoopla and rah-rah and celebration. DTube's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. You know, the same attitude that people had with Hive. And now look at Hive now. It's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. I mean, the Hive blog itself is struggling to get up above 800, 900 daily active users. It used to be 1,800. You lost 1,000 people. Hey, but you can all pat yourself on the back, high five, fist bump. Aren't we the greatest social media platform in the world? No, you are a bunch of losers suffering from some serious psychoses. Man, it's been a while since I've done some bashing like this. I almost feel a little bit embarrassed. But you know what? It's liberating. It's liberating because I've always said in the past that when you are being treated disrespectfully, one of the best things you can do is just take your anger and get creative with it. Express yourself and then go on to more important things. I'm really disappointed to see what's happening with DTube. I predict now that growth, unless something is done to change the attitude and to change the environment, to change the atmosphere, and to change the culture that is being created. It's a cronyism culture that is being created. All of the people who are on DTube now that have been around for a while, you know, those who have a lot of coins, those who have a lot of followers, those who have a lot of people voting on them, they think everything is just great and fine and dandy, but they have no idea that they're sitting inside of a room where all the doors are closed for other content creators to step in and attempt to have some kind of success within the system. They're doing fine, they're doing great, but they don't realize how small of a group they are. And when you're that small, you really can risk a lot. You can lose a lot because you think you're greater than what you really are. You think that there's this massive revolution going on. You know, there's only about 100 of you. You know, there's not, you know, it's the same thing that the Hive mentality brought on when everyone thought that there was this amazing revolution was going on, and Steam is dead, and and you know, we're the greatest, we're the mightiest, and we are going to prove to the world how much better we can make things. You know, but it's easy to stand in a room with everyone else who's agreeing with you. It's easy to look at the atmosphere and say, oh my God, we're going to have an absolutely amazing future. You know, don't we all just agree? And everyone's clapping their hands. And the honeymoon will soon be over. The honeymoon will eventually end. And you will have to return to the reality of the environment that you are creating. So I am looking carefully at the situation, doing my best to try to be optimistic, but I'm getting cynical and pessimistic at this point. I really am. You know, every day I go into my DTube channel and I see all of my videos blurred. I see that there is no one helping, and I see that the vast majority of my support comes from Steamians. So, you know, why should I continue to care about DTube? You know, there are other video platforms. There are BitChute, there is YouTube. You know, there are other platforms where I can just quickly and easily transfer my smart casting activities elsewhere, because it's the Steemians who are supporting me and giving me the motivation to continue on. You know, I thought I was going to be supporting DTube and perhaps maybe getting a little bit of support back because I'm an original content creator. I'm not the greatest. I'm not the Muhammad Ali of podcasting, but hey, I'm contributing something. I'm doing my part. I'm doing the best that I can with what it is that I have. I don't have a whole lot of Bitcoin and other tokens to be able to invest in the coin. I don't have video making material. I have what I have. I have my voice, I have my opinions, and I have my audience on Steemit, which I had hoped, if I had a good experience, which I had hoped to be able to more strongly promote DTube. And I was even thinking about asking the Steemians to get more serious about supporting DTube so that we can continue to have a video sharing platform that's connected to the Steem blockchain. But I'm quickly losing that optimism, because I'm just seeing too many things that are going in my opinion, in the wrong direction. So hopefully this is my last rant for DTube, because I really do want to focus on other things. Other exciting things that are going to be coming up soon, because we're going to be doing a lot of really wonderful things on the Steemit platform that could really take off and create a lot of exciting activity and create a stronger bond between Steemians, country representatives, and the Steemit team. So I can finally get around to these gene codes. I had someone leave a comment the other day and they were curious about what it is that I talk about on the Tino take, and they were looking at the post, and down in the post I have coming Tino takes that have been sitting there for a while, and there's a lot of gene codes, and in the gene codes there are some zodiac symbols and some, not symbols, but zodiac words. And this person was saying, hey, you talk about cosmology, what's the deal with this show? I mean, I'm not understanding if this is part of the show. So it was somebody that the comment was written in Spanish, so I had to translate it to get a sense of what the person was talking about. I hope you understand English, because I don't do this smartcast in Spanish. This is the language. I can do Italian and I can do English. But it was a spark for me to say, okay, when I have the time, let's start getting into these gene codes again. So, gene codes and the art of confirmation, the investigator. The art of confirmation is my confirming that what I have studied thus far in certain systems, certain esoteric systems, certain exoteric systems, which help us to understand human nature, which help me to understand human nature. I have confirmations for those systems. Many years ago, I came across a system known as the 7 life energies, and it was really, really a lightning bolt of an awakening that helped me to understand that our human nature is something that we come into this world with. The blank slate that many psychologists and psychiatrists would like to convince us that we are born with is simply not a reality. It certainly is not a reality for me. But one of the ways in which I was able to really come to this conclusion, come to this attitude, come to this awareness, is because I was able to confirm within myself that what I was reading really described who I am, what I am, how I think, and how I behave. But that wasn't enough, because I said, I need more. So what happened afterwards was that I was able to study other characters that were different from myself. I'm a dynamic assertive, and I'm fully aware of it. I know it after 20 years. I have no doubt whatsoever. But there are 6 other life energies that I was really curious about, that I am not, and that I don't understand, that I don't think that way, I don't behave that way. And so the natural question for me was, well, do these people really exist? Can I find other people who can actually confirm for me that they do think this way, they do behave this way? And I was able to do that. That opened me up to a whole new world, a whole vast, deep world of esoteric wisdom that helps us to understand that we are born with a certain way of being, a certain way of thinking. Yes, we can be influenced by the outside world. Yes, we can be influenced by our environment, by our culture, by our parents, by our education. But underneath of all of that, fundamentally, there is something that we actually come into this world with. And I believe a lot of that is the so-called junk DNA that scientists still don't understand, because they're coming from the perspective that we're born with a blank slate. And the only thing that our genetics and our DNA are here for is the color of our hair, the texture of our hair, the color of our skin, the color of our eyes, and how we form proteins and all of that jazz. But there is a lot more to our coding, to our programming, that we come into this world with. So from the 7 life energies, I was able to be more open to other systems, whether it be bioenergetics, whether it be the Enneagram, whether it be microchakra psychology, whether it be the 22 extraterrestrial races. It just so much opened up. And one of those systems that I was opened up to was human design, the human design system. And the human design system is really a synthesis, a bringing together of a lot of esoteric fields into science. It's actually bringing science, biology, genetics, astrology, the chakra system, the Chinese I Ching system, the Kabbalah. I mean, a lot. And at first, I just didn't know what to do with it. But the more that I explored it with a bit of patience, the more that I began to realize, and it took years, believe me, it took years, because it was just so complicated that I said, I don't know I can't make heads or tails of this. But eventually I was convinced, because I could confirm what I was reading. I could confirm what other people were saying about my particular profile, my particular genetics that emerged from the moment that I was born and from before when I was born. Now, in human design, there are 64 gates, as opposed to astrology, which has 13 houses of the zodiac. Human design has 64 gates of the I Ching, which also are represented in the celestial skies. So just as someone during November who can be born in the sign of zodiac, in the sign of the zodiac, in the sign of Scorpio, that same person, and I'm talking about myself, within that same house can be born within a particular gate, because within that house there are several gates. Because the sky is not measured in 365 days. The sky is measured in 360 degrees. And there are 12 houses in those 360 degrees of the celestial skies that we pass through, whether it be Pluto, whether it be Mercury, whether it be the sun, whether it be the moon. And so having 64 gates, the time period between one gate and another is a lot different. Whereas with the zodiac, you have about a month in which an astrological sign can last. Within human design, you have gates that last about 5.5 days each. So one can go from one style of being to another style of being within a month, or within one zodiac sign. So much so that even though I and another Scorpio, I was born on November 11th. Someone who was born on November the 8th is going to have a completely different character than I have, even though we're both Scorpions. So I found this very fascinating. Now, within these gates, I was born on November the 11th, And so I was born within gate 43. That is the gate of insight. Now, see, now the rabbit hole really goes down. So within each gate, this is where it gets crazy. But I can confirm this. I can confirm these things, because at first I didn't even want to get into this. But then I said, okay, let me start. So when I started, I found out, okay, November 11th, I was born in the gate of insight, gate 43. And so I read up on what is this gate of insight? What does it entail? And I was astonished. I said, wow, this is amazing. This really describes a lot about me. So being convinced of this confirmation, I thought to myself, okay, let's go forward. Where do we go from here? We have all of these other gates. I have other gates that describe me well. And then I come to find out that within each of the 64 gates, there are what are known as 6 lines. So, an even deeper delving down into the character of a person. Now, in the human design system, they call this the science of differentiation. And that just simply means, in lay language, we're all different. And it's true, just like the fingerprints on our fingertips, we are all uniquely different. We have commonalities, and that's a good thing. But the further you delve deeper and deeper into yourself and other people, the more the differentiation comes out. So even though I was born on November 11th, someone who was in the gate of insight, gate 43, someone else who may be born on the 14th, just 3 days later, they're going to have a different character because they're going to be born with a different line. Okay, so I am gate 43, but line 1 is the investigator. Line 4 is the opportunist. And so even though we both share the gate of insight, the gift of insight, our insight is used differently because I'm an investigator. And so my insights are achieved through investigation, whereas insights for another person who may have been born on the 14th and has the opportunist, their insights come through opportunism. So it's really complicated. It really is complicated. So let's talk about this investigator. I'm an investigator. It's the first line. It's the bottom line. Investigators are foundation builders. They're very insular people. They're very introspective. Because this is line 1, this is a foundation. These are people who prefer to be alone in their exploration of what it is that they're trying to understand in life. They're very insecure people in the sense that they have a sense of instability underneath of them. This is why they're always building foundations, and they're awesome foundation builders simply because this sense of insecurity always gives them a feeling that the ground upon which they are building, the ground upon which they are standing, is unstable. And it's really frustrating living with something like this. But now that I understand it better, I understand that I have to be patient with the understanding that my insecurity about the stability of the foundation that is under me or under other people will never be fixed. It will never be solid. Life is dynamic. Everything is in constant vibration. So there never will be a stillness. There never will be this solid ground that I can stand upon. But what does this do? This causes me to always seek to make that solid ground more stable. And other people benefit from that because I lay the solid ground down through investigation, through research, through introspection, through testing that ground to make sure that it is solid, and as well as returning to that foundation. You see, I build a foundation And then when I discover new information or I come to new insights because of Gate 43, when I come to new insights, I always return to the foundation and add those insights to the foundation so that other people who are living upon that foundation, using that foundation to create, to do other things, can always have just a little bit more stability underneath of them. So as a foundation builder, I always come up, and this coincides with my ability to come up with different projects and start new projects, because I have this foundation building aspect of myself. And so I do a lot of research. I do a lot of introspection in order to make sure that the thing that I am engaging in has a strong base. And because of the first line quality, because of that concentration of stability that one is seeking, it is very important for investigators to really try to do one thing at a time, because you want to create the best foundation that you can. And now that I'm experiencing more of how I interact in the world, and ever since we've had this rebirth of Steam It, I have been seeing that following these guidelines and having these insights has been really amazing for me, because I have been able to do more because I can follow this kind of guideline for how my DNA works, for how my genetics work, for how my soul works, for how my energy manifests itself into the world. So that's the investigator. I was hoping to get into other things, but when I start to talk about these gene codes, I go off into a really magical world of understanding human nature. And it is an absolutely amazing journey. It has been 20 years. And I've come to realize that I have another 20 to go before I can actually feel like I can actually feel that I've gotten somewhere, because there is a whole lot more to explore. The most important thing for me now is knowing how I can interact with other people, knowing what I can bring to the table, and being honest about what it is that I can't bring to the table, but at the same time, having tools for being able to identify other people that can complement and that can create a harmony and a synergy between my style of being and other people's styles of being, because no one's born to be here alone. We are a human. Humanity is an organism, and we all have our part to play. We all have our role to play. And I am excited about seeing how I can continue to slowly connect with other people, connect with projects, and watch how my energy is able to flow into this Steam It environment, and see what we can do in order to cause it to grow and become more useful, more interesting, and to be able to attract more people who have creative qualities about them that can help the platform to really grow. And if there is a willingness to keep an openness, to limit censorship, to just allow people to be themselves, I think we can do some really excellent things for the future of Steam It. As always, thank you for listening. We will catch up on the next take.